Hello, hello, hello. The servers are down on BDO, so I figured I would go to the BDO Reddit where I used to answer questions and just go through it and give any kind of feedback or just really talk on the BDO, just on BDO Reddit, and sort of just give a, attention to it, because I feel like it's probably rarely looked at by anybody who gives a shit. Sometimes you find some funny stuff on here, and sometimes you just find absolute gold. So we'll just see what we can find today. Anyone want to be friends? I've been playing for almost a year. No one really seems to be playing with others type. I'm not the most active, but I get on twice a week since I'm currently pursuing my studies. I'm heavy on PvE as I'm on the OG PS4. Oh yikes, that's tough, buddy. Mainly looking for other women to play with, others who are in college or those in my age group, young adults. I feel like this game would be fun if it felt more community oriented, but most people I see are being toxic in chat or plain rude. Yo man, that is rough. That is a rough read. I'm not even gonna lie to you. That is actually a rough read. So like, this is kind of a problem that I feel if you're new to the game or like haven't really like dove into the community aspect of the game, you miss out on a lot of where the community tightness is. I think that as a veteran player, I'm sort of inept from these sort of kinds of players because they just don't live in the same realm of existence that I do. I primarily stay on Arsha server 24/7, which is a PvP server, and most players that are looking to grind or chill, hang out, whatever, they don't really go to that server because it's kind of a cesspool of nonsense. And it kind of sucks to like read this kind of thing because clearly this person just wants to play the game with friends. Like that's literally all they want to do. They just want to play the game with friends and just kind of hang out, grind, build their character together, whatever they feel like doing. And it low-key sucks because BDO doesn't have a lot of group content that I would classify as fun or even relevant that is good to do as a new player. I mean, there's some grind spots, you got Olins, Turos, Imps, Castle Ruins, but it's like, after a while it gets a little old and there's just not a lot of super fun stuff. And the dungeons are cool too, but like it's not something you can run on repeat because you get less rewards and whatnot, and you don't really get anything. You can do the weekly, but that's kind of really it. And running circles is, you can only do that for so long, which is why I think that they should introduce some kind of raid content, some better dungeons that are not tied to a weekly, and you can just do them just naturally. I feel like the game has gotten to a point where it's purely just about silver, and it's always been that way, right? But now it's just gotten to that point where everything else has disappeared from the game and has just completely just focused on how you can make the most amount of silver in the most effective way possible, cutting out the fun factor on how can I make money and have fun at the same time. Most people sacrifice the fun aspect in order to, get efficient gear / silver per hour, and the fun 9 times out of 10 gets just forgotten in the grind, So this was kind of a sad read, I'm not gonna lie. You should never have to go to a Reddit just to find people to hang out with on your video game. That should be a red flag for Perlabyss that they're doing something wrong, in my opinion. Can we petition Perlabyss to enable the Twitch drops for console? Yeah, so this has been a problem for a very long time. Everybody that streams on like Twitch and everything has been pushing for drops for console specifically for a very long time, and I still have yet to have gotten a real reason as to why this hasn't been enabled, whether that be there's an issue between Twitch and Perlabyss, or I don't know. I'm just speculating. I actually have no idea, but I've been in a couple of the meetings where Twitch drops were discussed. I can't really talk too much about it, but like just when partners in the CMs kind of get together and we have our discussions, and I've even spoken to a few CMs and GMs in person as well, with Guido and other content creators of the game when we went to the Calpheon Ball, when I went to the Voice of Adventures in Boston. This was brought up a few times, and I mean there was never really a clear-cut answer. There was just kind of, eventually it's coming, and trust me, nobody wants this change more than the content creators that stream on Twitch. They've been pushing for this for a very long time, and as to why we haven't gotten it yet, I have absolutely no idea, but it sucks that it doesn't exist yet. Question about Black Star and Inverted Heart. Can you infuse an inverted Garmoth heart into a Tet Black Star? Yeah, you can. You can put it in anything. You can put it in a, the Unuver, put it in Kudum, you can put it in a Black Star. Your offhand. You can put it in your awakened. The only thing you can't put it in is your main hand. So that's pretty much it. What's the easiest PvE class on console? Okay, so this, I actually made a video about this. You guys can check it out if you want, but honestly, the best way for me to kind of put this into a perspective so that way new players can understand, the game's damage output, right? Your DPS is tied to frame rate. So the higher the FPS, the more damage you're gonna output, right? So because console has pretty awful frame rates and stutters and just terrible performance in general, the best way to counter the FPS problem is to play classes that don't rely on FPS. I'll give you an example. Warrior is my main. I usually play Warrior 24/7. I don't really grind on it anymore. I swapped to Awakening Zerger for grinding, which is also not that very good either for FPS reasons. But the point being is that Warrior specifically, solely his DPS is one of the most reliant on frame rate. If you do not have decent frame rate, you will miss a lot of your abilities. I can't tell you how many times I've done slashing the dead and it's just the damage registration just didn't hit. It just missed completely, or like the frames dropped to a point where the damage registration just completely halted and there was no registration whatsoever. So the best way that you go around that is by playing a class that isn't reliant on FPS whatsoever. Striker, for example. Striker, you just hold the B button and you just kill everything. Like is it the best grinder in the game? Absolutely fucking not. It's not the best grinder in the game. It's one of the easiest grinders in the game that you can just do it with, you know, any kind of level of gear, and he can get away with a lot of stuff because of his kit. And Megu's the same way, Wusa's kind of the same way, Succession Zerker's kind of the same way. There's tons of classes within the game that just bypass that DPS FPS problem. So that's kind of what you want to aim for. For the most part, like the top grinders, Stuck Guardian, Awakened Guardian's good too. Succession Zerker, Megu, Wusa. I'm trying to think of like anything else that could be up there too. I mean, Striker, yeah, Striker 2. Those are just some of the classes that do relatively well. Sage isn't bad either. That's also a really good one. But yeah, it's kind of a little rough when grinding on console, because it's like you kind of have to play classes that will optimize your grind so that way you can efficiently build your character up and gain silver. That's the whole point of the tag system, or at least that's the way I view the tag system. Is like, my main character is my fun character. My tag is going to be what I use for, you know, grinding, use for, you know, alternative things that don't rely on certain areas. You can even use it as a way to like play a better class, right? So maybe my main is my large scale class, and then my PvE class is my tag, and my dueling class or something like that. So just experiment for the most part, but just generally do your research and figure out which classes fit the best for you in your scenario. Just know that FPS is going to be a factor, and you're going to want to keep that in mind. What is the favorite level 60 to 61 grind spot, and why does the Desert Naga area seem so OP? What do you mean by that? I don't know about like Desert Nagas being OP, but like, yeah, I mean, you could grind there. For the most part, when I do any power leveling, or I prefer to do any just speed leveling to 61 and 62, I usually go to Marie Cave. That's generally the best spot because you can kill two birds with one stone. When you go to Marie Cave over at Hex Sanctuary, it's really good because it gains a lot of XP, but it also gives a decent chunk of Caphras too. The trash loot there is kind of forgettable, and it's not really the reason you're going there. You're gonna have to just accept the fact that you're not gonna be making a lot of money at Marie Cave outside of the Caphras, so you'll just have to keep that in the back of your mind. However, it will generally get you to 61 in less than a couple hours, and even 62 in probably 1 to 2 days at like maybe 3 to 4 hours. So that's, you know, that's my preference personally. Outfit CM price increase. What is the overall consensus of the market? Price for Pearl Shop outfits being raised to 1.2 billion from 680 mil or whatever. I think that for a short time, it'll bring more outfits to the CM. Some of us are silver hoarding degenerates who don't mind spending money for silver, which is good for those of us who only get outfits via the CM or for crown stones. But if that doesn't happen, then I believe this could be the beginning of the end for IR IRL pay to win BDO. I only say this because you'll get like 870 crons or something for premium outfits when broken down, and with the price of outfits being 1.2 billion, you're only spending roughly around 500 million less for an outfit as opposed to buying 870 crons from the blacksmith for 1.7 billion. What do y'all think? Personally, the outfit thing, I don't like. I've never partaken in like the whole pay to win thing. It's been a long time since that was a considered strategy for me specifically. I feel like that's a tactic and thing that's used for newer players that want to get a decent jump start and try and just get good gear, because like you could buy one of the, like, you know, the giga whale packs for like maybe 150 bucks and you'll get like close to maybe 10 bill maybe if you're lucky enough for like what the price would be and how much you'll get. And for that point, like some of those are just not even really used for anything else. The people that are buying those outfits are the veteran players. They're the ones that are just sniping these off the market so that way they can send their accessories like Pendeboreka necks, belts, you know, any of the accuracy accessories that are very important. Those are the ones that are buying these outfits. I think personally this guy right here kind of says everything that needs to be said in my general mindset. I think he kind of just nails the you know, point home. So I personally would just read this, but yeah, the whole market change and everything like that, it's whatever. It doesn't really affect me specifically or a lot of other players, but I just like, it's just a weird thing that they just came out with. I didn't even really understand what the point of it was. Is this game still populated? I've owned this game for years. I quit playing probably 3 months after its initial release, before the acquisition of free-to-play model. I remember enjoying it, but still didn't have time back then. I might be tempted to come back if I can get an honest opinion or 3 on population and overall attitude of the people in the game. I gotta be honest, me personally, I wouldn't recommend BDO to anybody right now. I don't think it's worth playing, especially like as a new player, because like unless you're enjoying grinding and just running circles and making silver for a means to an end, I don't know that there's really any point to playing BDO. I can just give you my perspective. Like currently I'm not playing the game. Like I'm a content creator for BDO, and you know, the problem with that I'm having is that there's no content to make on the game. It's a dead game. And when I say dead game, I don't mean like literally dead. It's just like for a veteran player, it might as well be a dead game because there's not really much for us to do. It's just like, you know, we built our characters up from, you know, level 1, 0 gear score all the way to what we are now, and then there's no use for it. I don't have a use for it. I'm a hard cap player with a lot of gear, and I just don't really have any reason to get onto the game. I go on, I look for PvP, doesn't really happen. It doesn't really, nothing really goes on. The decks have basically been dropped, and there's, you know, people are still fighting regardless of the deck change. It doesn't make any difference. The only difference now is that you don't see a blue or red feed anymore. So I think mentally that actually helped a lot, because I think because players don't see a giant red feed, they don't think of it as such a negative aspect, and people just fight to fight now. So in some regard, that was a bit of a positive, but for the most part, I don't really see a reason for me to play the game. I mean, honestly, I'm just playing Darktide 24/7. Like that's literally all I've been playing for the past like 2 weeks now. And the only thing I do on the game is I log on for Node War if I have one, or I log on for Siege if, you know, we're off castle, which I mean, I've been in castle for 3 weeks now, so it's just been a snore fest for the past whatever. Granted, I was kind of actually fine with that because there wasn't anything happening in the game anyway. Nobody was open worlding. Every node war was just basically free. Nobody fought us. So it was like, might as well sit in castle and just collect bread. You know what I'm saying? If you're not going to be entertaining and their game is not going to be fun, I'm just going to sit in castle, get fat, and fucking do nothing. But overall, I mean, like, I just don't see any reason to play BDO, even as a new player. If you ask me, would I restart the game all over again? No. It's not. Watching my homies do their like book logs and all their adventure logs and stuff like that, going through the Land of the Morning Light quest line, none of that shit is fun. Not a single bit of that stuff is fun. Grinding, I can get around, right? Like if I had to just grind up and start another account or whatever, that would be okay. But because of all the extra nonsense that they put in the game between the adventure logs, the new Land of the Morning Light quest line, the regular quest line, all this extra garbage is it's too much. It's way too much. And the fact that I am done with most of that stuff, if not all of it now, caught up to date, it's fine. It's fine because I don't have to worry about it. But if I was a new player and I wanted to take the game seriously, and then you ask me how would I do that, first thing I tell you, do all your books. Do all your books. It's crazy. It's crazy how much the books are a core integral part of the game. I think that if BDO got rid of the books alone, a lot of players would really get interested, because nothing about those chore book content garbage is fun. It drives a lot of players away. It prevents a lot of people from even stepping forward and trying to take the game even more serious. Not only that, but it promotes RMT, which means, you know, people are paying real money to actually do those books. People are being paid. I know tons of players that have paid for others to do the books for them, and they're not paying cheap, like cheap shit either. They're paying like hundreds and hundreds of dollars for people to actually do those books for them. It's a common thing nowadays. If you're well acquainted in the area of like who to ask for and what services that you're, you know, aware of, it is a very common thing that happens on a regular basis. And if they got rid of the adventure logs, that would stop that market very quickly, but that's, you know, nor here or there. That's a whole different problem in itself. But the books are a giant issue. In general, no. This game I don't think is very fun right now, even for a new player. I think you're gonna just drive yourself insane doing the adventure logs and going through the new quest lines and trying to play catch up and all this boring garbage. I just don't think it's very fun right now, especially with other games coming out soon and everything else, the new arcs coming out. And I can tell you right now, as from a console player, all the top end guilds, every single relevant PvP guild that is even doing shit on the console PvP scene, they are all going to be done with BDO. And when I say done, I don't mean they're quitting. They're just going to be done for a while. They're all moving to ARC. Literally, I'm in so many discords, and every single one of the top end guilds are seriously just going to log on for Node War and Siege, and then they're never going to touch the game until they're, you know, back regularly, and they're just going to go play ARC. That is literally the top end of everybody right now. Nobody's going to be playing the game once ARC comes out, so just bear that in mind. All right, we will end this video on this here. So hi, I've been playing BDO for 3 months now. I have a few questions. I finished the season pass long ago, but just stayed on the seasonal servers because I think the drop rate is better and maybe some other benefits. Now I have about 6 million still saved in liquid cash. Is it worth graduating now and creating a new season character to feed my main more? I'm doing more dailies and weeklies from Jatina to get my pen stuff. Is it better to finish these quests on seasonal server, or does it really matter? Also about the seasonal items, Kratuga on seasonal server drops artifacts, but it's seasonal items as it shows. Will those artifacts be converted to normal gear when I graduate? Artifacts? Hello? Is this not the fucking? This is definitely the consoles. Hello? What artifacts? The fuck are you talking about? Oh, I see. Okay. I was so confused. What the fuck? All right, we're gonna go ahead and end on whatever this is. So let's just check this out. So console has no money. What's the point of enhancing items worth 100 bill if no one can buy them? Because the people that can afford it already has it. My pen Black Star has been on the CM for almost a month at min bid. Okay, so here's the thing, right? It's not that people like don't can't afford it, right? Like that's not an issue. Like 100 bill, that's just a time sink, right? Like you can make 100 bill in roughly like what, 3 months if you're going real hard. Real quick, we'll do the math. Let's say that you're making about 2 bill a day from all sorts of income, right? So you're making 2 billion silver on a regular basis. You times that by 7 for 7 days a week, 14 bill. You times that by 4 for 4 weeks in a month, boom, 56 million silver. Times that by 2 for 2 months, 112 billion silver. So if you're making a minimum of 2 bill a day, you could buy a pen Black Star in roughly around 2 months, as long as you can maintain that 2 bill every single day, which is not very hard. That's like 3 hours of grinding, or, you know, crafting alchemy stuff, or cooking, whatever the means be, just min-maxing for 2 months. You would be able to afford a pen Black Star in 2 months. That's not a big deal. The problem is nobody fucking needs that shit. Making money is not an issue. BDO, you can make a ton of money. I think the prices are still stupid. Like I think paying 150 bill for a Black Star is very stupid. I don't think that is that is something that any real player should ever have to grind for, because the content within the game, whether it be PvP or PvE, doesn't reflect the cost, right? Me buying a pen Black Star doesn't give me any more joy than me running a C15 Dandy, because like there's nothing to use it on. I mean, all I care about is PvP. So me having a pen Black Star or me having a fucking pen Dandy, whatever, it doesn't change the fact that there's nothing for me to use it on. There's no substance, there's no value, there's no point of gear. It just doesn't make any sense, especially if you're not in a guild that does uncapped node wars. I mean, this doesn't really apply to me because I fucking do uncapped node wars 90% of the time, as well as uncapped siege. So having gear score makes sense. But if you're in a, like, let's say a T1 guild or like T2, or just a guild that plays on caps specifically, there is no reason for you to even own this shit other than the fact that it'll help with your grinding and whatnot and reach better brackets. But that's it. It really has no substance whatsoever. Gear makes zero sense right now because there's nothing to use it on except for running circles, and not everybody wants to do that all day. And it really, like I said, this is kind of just an ignorant statement, and I can tell that you just kind of put this here because you're just frustrated that the thing that you're trying to sell is not selling, and you're just gonna have to join the club of other people that are just sitting with shit on the market. And it's not that it's not gonna sell, it will 100% sell. It will sell within, you know, however long it takes, and you will get your money. But like, coming to the Reddit is not gonna make it sell faster. I gotta be honest. It's just the state of the game. Nobody cares to spend 100+ billion silver on a fucking pen Black Star when it just, why would you do that? Honestly, reading a lot of these comments down here, I just don't think people understand what actually goes on behind the scenes with most things. But yeah, I mean, consoles marketplace is a little jank. I'm not gonna lie to you, it's a little jank. There's a lot of RMT going on, people selling Don's gloves and Fallen God at Tet for real life money and stuff like that. Not only that, but you know, all these other garbage things that happen with console. It's just like nobody's playing the game right now. Like, nobody's playing the game. My entire guild is not even playing the game. I'm in Sacred, the #1 fucking guild on console. We do not play the game. We literally hop on the game. If somebody says, hey, there's a GVG going on, we get on the game. Once the GVG's over, off the game. Nobody's playing this shit. Nobody. And if the top end players that have all the money are not playing the fucking game, what makes you think all these other fucking dudes below us are playing the game too? That can afford this shit. Like, nobody's playing it. It's just what it is. Nobody's playing this game, and it's only going to get worse as new games come out that are more popular. So you're just gonna have to be patient. It'll sell eventually, and at some point in time you'll get it. But like, it's not about that there's no money within the market or there's no money on players' hands. I myself am sitting on exactly how much money that you like. I could buy your pen Black Star right fucking now. I just don't. I don't need it. And I can tell you right now, half my guildies probably have roughly around the same amount of money, if not fucking more, to buy maybe 2 or 3 of your Black Stars. There's tons of players that can definitely afford your Black Star. They just don't give a fuck, or they already have one. So yeah, it is what it is. But that's gonna be it for today's video. Hopefully you guys found this informative. If you have any questions, leave them down below. I'll do my best to answer them whenever I can. I'm gonna try and upload a little bit more, be a little bit more consistent. But you know, with BDO just slowly going down the toilet on console, it's very hard. So I might start uploading some new content. I might start, you know, dipping into Dark Tide, going over some builds, some cool stuff, things like that, just to kind of have fun and just do something different. But yeah, that's it. I'll talk to you guys later. Bye bye.